There is some big news in the world of college basketball that we need to talk about. Emoni Bates, the best player in high school basketball, has made it official. He is reclassifying into the class of 2021, and he's cut his list down to just 4 schools. We're going to get into all of that and what it means, not only for the schools that are recruiting Emoni, but for Emoni's future as a draft prospect. Hint, he ain't getting drafted next year. We're going to get to that. But before we do, I just want to let you guys know that the field of 68 is expanding into college football this season. So if you love the action on the gridiron as much as you love college hoops, then head over to the Field of 12 YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. We have a ton of news coming in the next couple of weeks regarding the future of that channel. And while I cannot talk about it specifically right now just yet, I promise you, you're not going to want to miss it. I've dropped a link in the description for that page below. Now, back to Emoni. Let's get into the details of it first. He told both Joe Tipton of On3 Sports and our Jeff Goodman, who also works for Stadium, that he has trimmed his list to 4: Oregon, Memphis, Michigan State, and if he opts to go to the professional route, the G League Ignite program. He's finished his coursework. He's able to graduate high school, and his decision, which is going to be made soon, is going to determine where he plays in 1 month. Yes, Emoni Bates is now officially a member of the class of 2021. Now, there are pros and cons to each of the places that he has a chance to end up. Michigan State is home for him. He's a native of Ypsilanti, Michigan, a city that is just outside Ann Arbor, and he originally committed to the Spartans back in the summer of 2019. He's got Michigan State written all over him. That's the kind of dude that he is. Although, if I'm being honest, I think that this is probably the least likely of the 3 schools on his list that Bates ends up at. That's because the other 2 programs have the backing of major international conglomerates to help them. Let's start with Oregon, because that tie is the most obvious. Oregon is backed by Nike. Phil Knight is an alum of that school. It's been a topic of discussion in basketball circles for a while, but the Ducks tend to be up there with places like North Carolina, Duke, and Kentucky when it comes to being the place that the swoosh tries to get their top players to end up. We know that. We also know that these players now have access to their NIL rights, meaning that the money that was once paid under the table is now written into a contract. We saw that with Kayvon Thibodeau, one of the best college football players in the country, and the deal that he got from Oregon. There are those that believe that Emoni will be Nike and Phil Knight's first big NIL play on the college hoops side. And frankly, I think that this is probably the best place for him to end up strictly from a hoops perspective. For those that have not seen Bates play, he's a skinny 6'8" wing that was built to get buckets. He's got deep range on his 3. He's got really, really impressive handle for a kid his size. And he has the talent to one day average 25 points per game in the NBA. I think there is very little chance that he does not get to the league and one day average at least 18 points in an NBA season. He can score like that. He's also a bit of a gunner, but that would fit perfectly in at a school where the likes of Tyler Dorsey and Joseph Young thrived. Bates plays just like those 2 dudes, except he's 6'8" instead of 6'2". But that brings me to my next point. There are 2 positions that thrive in Dana Altman's spread offense: shoot first lead guards and big wings that create mismatches. Bates is one of the few players that's entering college that can do both of those things. He can play the Tyler Dorsey role. He can also play the Dillon Brooks role. I have no doubt that he would be an absolute monster in Eugene if that's where he decides to go. And when combined with the money that you can get from Nike and that kind of relationship that you could build this early in your career, that seems like a terrific option for him. But so is Memphis. There are people that will tell you that one of the reasons that Penny went as far as to feign interest in the Orlando Magic coaching position was because he wanted to try and force Memphis to let him hire Larry Brown as an assistant coach. The reason why he wanted Larry Brown on his staff was to help sell Emoni Bates and Jalen Duren on the school. Brown is one of the all-time great basketball minds, and getting a man like that into the program was a selling point for elite recruits to get them into the program. If Larry Brown can work with Allen Iverson and thrive, he can probably find a way to work with Emoni Bates and thrive. But that's only half of the deal. One of the rumors that permeated the Peach Jam bleachers last week was that Penny was willing to allow Emoni to play the point. And I cannot imagine a better human being on planet Earth to teach a 6'8" kid how to play the point than the legend Penny Hardaway himself. And all of that is before you get to FedEx, which is headquartered in Memphis, and in theory could drop a pretty big bag on a player of Emoni's ilk. Now, there's a really important part of this conversation that I have not gotten to yet, and we need to touch on. Emoni is not currently eligible for the 2022 NBA draft. The rules state that you not only have to be 1 year removed from your high school graduation to get drafted, but you also have to turn 19 in the year that you are getting drafted. In other words, Emoni Bates needs to be 19 by December 31st, 2022 in order to be eligible for the 2022 NBA draft. He turns 19 on January 28th, 2023. He misses the deadline by 4 weeks. Now, anything is possible. Waivers can be given. The NBA can turn a blind eye. They can invite a player to just come and do what they want. It is their league. They can make whatever decision they want to make. And I guess that there's a chance that they do that. They could change their stance, but I don't think that they will. The NBA does not want to incentivize players finding a loophole to get into the draft a year earlier than they're supposed to. People think that the reason the NBA wanted the one and done rule in the first place, this age limit, was so that they didn't have to evaluate high school kids playing against high school kids. They wanted to guarantee that they would have a chance to see these kids play a high level of competitive basketball somewhere in the world before they made a decision to invest millions and millions of dollars into them. And that certainly played a part in this entire decision-making process. But what the league doesn't want to say quite as loudly is that the age limit is all about the control that owners have over the players and where they're playing and when they are playing there. Think about it like this. The way that the current CBA is set up, NBA teams have 9 years where they can keep a first-round pick under their control before he hits the open market, if they are so inclined. They have the 4 years on their rookie deal, and they have the 5-year extension that they can sign immediately after those first 4 seasons. If a kid enters the draft immediately after high school when he's 18 years old, that means that not only does the team drafting him have to pay for an extra year of development at the start of his career, they only have control over where that player's playing until his year 27 season. With the 19-year-old age limit, with the one and done rule, NBA teams don't have to fund that extra year of development at the start of the player's career. And in exchange, they get a player that is not only more ready to contribute immediately when he enters the league, they also have control over that player until their year 28 season. And if you want to know the real reason why there was a little bit of a discussion about changing this to a two and done model a couple years back, it was because NBA teams could draft players that are going to be able to step in as 20-year-olds and contribute more easily than 18-year-olds would. And they would have those players under their control until they turned 29, when most athletes start to hit the downhill side of their career. That's what it's about. It's about being able to get these kids that you invest this money in into their prime and not having to pay the 2 years for them to get ready to contribute. There is no incentive for the NBA to allow players to change that timeline, regardless of how talented they are, which means that Emoni Bates is probably going to end up having to do 2 years somewhere before he can get drafted. Now, if I'm being honest, I'm firmly of the belief that going to the G League is probably the best option for Emoni in the long term. I think that is the best way to combat the flaws that are currently in his game. The biggest issues that he has right now stem from a lack of accountability. It's his shot selection, especially when he played for Bates Fundamentals and Yipsy Prep, the 2 teams created by his father, Elgin. He can be dreadful at times with his shot selection. He is a tremendous shot maker, don't get me wrong, and he can hit some absolutely ridiculously tough shots off the dribble. But that doesn't mean that every shot that you take has to be a ridiculously tough shot. When he decides that he is going to put his head down, get to his spot, elevate, and shoot over whoever the hell is trying to guard him, he's a nightmare to stop. No kid at the high school level has a chance. But he has this habit of stringing together a bunch of looping crossovers, of settling for contested step back 22 footers. It can be frustrating to watch at times. But the question that you have to ask is this: is that shot selection a result of not understanding what a good shot is? Or is it the result of playing on a team where his supporting cast is somewhat limited, where teams and opponents can throw 2 and 3 guys at him, can just put bodies in front of him? Then there is the defense. he hasn't played like he gives a damn about that end of the floor nearly often enough. But again, put it into context. Is that the result of Emoni being a kid that just doesn't give a damn about getting stops? Or is it the result of Emoni conserving his energy because he knows if his team is going to have a chance to win, he's got to hit for 40? The way that I look at it is this. There is no better place to learn accountability for things like this than in a program like the G League Ignite, than playing for a coach like Brian Shaw, than being on a team with a slew of NBA veterans that are not going to tolerate that, than playing against a bunch of guys that are, in some cases, quite literally fighting to try and get that next NBA paycheck. The best way for some of these dudes to be able to get back to the league is to embarrass the next great thing. Having that kind of target on your back in a league as good as the G League is, I think would be great for Emoni's development. That's how you get better. Now, selfishly, I hope that he ends up in college, man. I love college basketball. I've built an entire company about college basketball, and having Emoni Bates in college basketball makes college basketball better. For Rob Doster, the best thing that he could do is to go to college for 2 years. I would love that. Now, if he gave a damn about my opinion, what I would tell Emoni is that I think he should head to the G League. Go be a pro. That's what you are. That's what you want to be. That's what you're always going to be. Go get it done. You're good enough to do it. My gut, I think he probably splits the difference. I think he goes to college for a year. I think he gets the publicity bump that comes with playing on national television 30 times a season. I think he goes and experiences the NCAA tournament. I think he makes a boatload of NIL money. I think he boosts his profile. I think he's able to develop the brand that all of these kids are worried so much about. Then I think he goes pro, and he spends his sophomore season in the G League learning how to be a pro. To me, that's probably the path that makes the most sense in this situation. But this is the year 2021. Nothing in this world makes sense anymore. So keep it locked here to find out what Emoni Bates is going to end up doing. And until then, smash that subscribe button, go and follow the Field of 12, and we will catch up soon. Thanks for watching the video, guys. If you liked what you saw here, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment. Interactions like that really do help grow the channel, and they help more people like you find this content. So if you liked what you saw here today and you want to help me out, that's all you got to do.